this direction part is to work out when he's inside a vehicle, to work out if the point that he's trying to get to is in front of his vehicle. If it's not, he turns, basically. And these positions is how I determine if it's in front of him, behind him, to the left or to the right of him. So I basically work out the distance between the point that he's trying to get to and those vectors, which is times by the C-frame of him. Bit complex, but if you times a C-frame of a brick and then times it by a vector, it will always return a vector, but it'd be offset from that C-frame. I think it's the position of the C-frame plus the rotation. So quite clever, if I say so myself. So yeah, so all I do then is work out the distance between point 1, which is right, point 2, which is left, etc, etc. And if all the parts, let's say, if the point he's trying to get to is on his left, it will return the dir of left, which is called back to the main loop that he wants to go to left, and return the vehicle to the left, basically. Or if it's in front of him, he would go forward without touching the steering wheel. So it's basically just a little direction thing, if you like. So the next one is working out yeah, so he's working out the direction from the above function and how fast he wants to push the trigger or push the throttle. In this case I just set it to 1. Or did I? Yeah, 1. Or if it's behind him, he will go -1, which is reverse. So it's just basically a easy way of actually controlling vehicles. So if you call vehicle seat, let's just say this one, and then call steer equals 1, let's see if I can get this right, it would turn right. And if you set it to -1, it would turn left, or attempt to. That's if it got some some wheels attached to it. Put my teeth in. And if you mess around with the throttle within the script, if you set it to 1, if it's got any vehicle, yeah. If it's got any wheels attached to the vehicle seat, it will go forward, or however you got your wheels. Vehicle, get out my brain, will you? So yeah, then if the speed, which is set by the velocity magnitude, which is always returns a number, or how fast he's going, if it goes above or less than 10, he will apply a throttle. If it goes above 10 stubs per second, let's just say, he eases off the throttle, basically. So that's all that does. And what's this else? Left, right. Oh, that's for rear. So if he's if the waypoint is behind him somehow, he will go backwards and steer to the left, which will steer him to. So I'm just hearing some guinea pigs in the background. Shut up! Yeah, put me right off my train of thought. I don't know if you heard that. So yeah, he turns to the left, I believe, and then he sort of turns around, basically. The next one is where I'll work out if the vehicle seat is upside down or not, and it's all the math to work out the angle, which is what took me a while to do. So of course I'm using my position trick of setting the C-frame times a vector. Even though I'm using a C-frame there, I'm just using the position of the C-frame. which is what that P stands for. When I was actually programming this, I sort of trying to do it all with C-frame, and it did not work, so I ended up just using the position of the C-frame and not using the rotation. So let's see if I can actually get this right and explain it correctly. Oh boy, this is going to be a tough one to explain. I understand it, but at the same time, putting it into words is a hard thing. So for the x of this, I take the position 1.x minus the position 2.x. Well, it's the same for the x, y and z. Then I take the x of that, do a power of 2 of that value, plus the power of z of that value of 2. Like let's just say if x is 1, to the power of 1, which is 1 or 2. I have to work that out. My god, my brain is stopping me, or failing me tonight. So 1 times 1 is 1. Yeah. So 2 times itself is 4. So it's basically what that math power is doing. So you put in a number times itself, and that's the power of the of that number, massive number if you like. And then I'm finding the square root of that, which in this case was the number that we started from, but we add the two powers together, or power together, and then I'm using that as a math a tan, which is trigonometry if you like. This a tan 2 basically looks for a, I think it's a normalized vector of a thing. Oh come on brain, work it out. I think it's the normalized part of, no, not normalized, it's oh come on brain, work it out. I knew I was going to struggle with this bit. I think it's what it's working out basically is working out the mine's gone blank. My god, my brain. I suppose it is 7 o'clock in the morning, but whatever. So basically what I'm using there is using the power or square root of those two numbers, and then passing that to the math tan, and then setting the second value of that to the y, which is basically finding out the angle between position 1 and position 2. So that's basically what that's doing. So then, because that returns a value that looks very much like radians rather than degrees. If you do trigonometry, you know what I mean by radians. If you don't, look up trigonometry, then you find out, or should I say, a angle on a circle, if you like. That's basically what that a tan does. It works out the value on a circle, or the rotation of a circle. To convert that from radians to degrees, I times that by 180 divided by math pi, which is 3.14. So that gets it back into degrees. So then all I'm doing then is setting, if it's upside down, to true automatically, or by default if you like. And then if the roll, which is in degrees, is below the upside down angle which I set above, then it sets it to false, otherwise it returns true, always. Blimey, that took a bit. So we get to the main function, In fact, just before that, I'm going to have another sip of tea. This is where all the magic happens, when I tie everything together, if you like. Ah, lovely. So the first bit is his setting the self value back to, I don't know why I do that for, but whatever. Oh, wait a minute, I'm updating the self value, so if he gets killed somehow and his part sort of gets removed from the base plate, or his humanoid root part gets destroyed somehow, it stops the script, basically. That's all that's doing. So this next bit is working out how fast he's going, and the next one is how fast he's rotating. So those return a number value rather than a vector, which is what velocities are. Velocities are even. Then I'm working out to see if the vehicle is equal nil. In this case, in the first one, it will be, and my vehicle is nil, which it will be unless he's sitting on the vehicle. Then I'm doing a modular system to work out how many seconds have passed from a internal clock, if you like. In this case, I check, I think it's every 5 seconds or so. Then he calls that find nearest vehicle, which is this function up here. Where are we? And then if that returns a vehicle, that would be set to that vehicle seat, if you like. Otherwise the vehicle would be nil, which is set above excuse me, my voice is breaking. Shut up. Another sip of tea. Blimey, all the way through, almost all the way through it. So the next if statement is basically to check if the vehicle, if he's seen a vehicle seat and the vehicle is inside the workspace, which is basically what that does. If it's not, then it sets the vehicle to nothing, or nil if you like. So if the vehicle gets destroyed at any point in his runtime, he will ignore that vehicle and just carry on as if he hasn't seen that vehicle. That's how I programmed it, but what he does in reality is another question altogether. As you saw at the start of this video where he wouldn't go onto that centrifuge. I still have to work out why he's not doing that. Sometimes he actually does get onto the centrifuge or onto the vehicle that I placed next to him, and other times, like now, he ignores all vehicles. I swear he's getting sentient. So the next one after the vehicle check to see if it's got removed from the workspace or not is the check to see if he's elite or not, so if he gets sick or not. So if his speed gets above his illness speed, or the rotational speed gets above the rotation illness speed, then it adds one to a sick tick, if you like. Bit of a mouthful. Then if his let's have a look. So if he's okay, or if his sick tick is above 0, which if he's going above his let's say 60 mile an hour, the sick tick would tick up each loop, and this OK meter would go down basically. So if the OK meter actually go, oh pardon me, burping on camera, lovely. So if his OK meter goes below the sick threshold, he becomes sick basically, or if it's below his sick, as I've got here, it sets his face to the default OK face. And if his vehicle is not nil, then he sits down. otherwise he jumped up basically. I'm just setting a few 6. There's that 6 D bounce basically. So I'm setting it false there, but I'm setting it true somewhere else. I think further down somewhere. So if his OK meter is greater or equal to sick threshold and OK meter is less than 6 threshold, then I'll set his max sick to 100% if you like, and set his face to the ill face if you like, and it sets that particles emitter that I was actually trying to show you. It sort of turns it off just in case it might be running. So if he's just been sick and then comes back out of that sick way of being, I guess, it goes back into that. So it will disable the particle emitter. But if that OK meter is less or equal to the sick threshold, it shows that sick face, and it enables the him being sick basically. I'll just set a few flags to tell the script that he's actually sick. So that's what's been. Here we go. So if he's, as I said, if he's sick, if I did not have the sick debounce, as I said earlier, it will always trigger. So this will only trigger once when he's sick. So if he's inside a vehicle, he attempts to stop that vehicle by setting the throttle to -1. Then he sets them back to 0 when he's actually stopped, and then he jumps out, which is set above. Then if his ignore threshold is if he ignores that vehicle, it adds to the sick times, and if that sick time is above less or equal to the ignore threshold, it adds it to the questionable sick variable. So he sort of says it to himself, if you like, okay, I was sick in that vehicle, let's try it again. Basically. So yeah. Then if that sick time gets above the ignore threshold and the questionable vehicle is not nil, then he adds that vehicle to his ignored vehicle list and he jumps. So this is a long one. A long video. Then I'm just setting a few flags back to his default, if you like. So my vehicle, the vehicle that he's in, sets that to 0 or nothing, and he jumps out. I'm setting that questionable sick vehicle to nil, and setting the sick times to 0, and etc, etc. Then I'm just calling a path to his position, if you like. I might change that in the future to a random point. So at the moment he jumps out of that vehicle and just stands there, basically. I think I added that in because I was going to do a random position from that vehicle, but I never got around to doing it. So that's how I sort of do the sick part of him. I'll have to run him again to see if he's sick again inside a vehicle. I might have to tweak a few things in his brain, or the particle emitter that I'm using for him being sick. I don't know exactly what's going on there. So this next part is if in normal operation sort of thing, where if the vehicle that he's seeing is, if he actually sees a vehicle and he's not inside a vehicle currently, he will check the distance between himself and that vehicle state, if you like, and if it's within his sight radius, or in this case above his sight radius, he sets that vehicle value to nil, because it's beyond his sight radius basically. And then I'm just setting the path and things to current point to 0, to the first one. So in other words, don't go along that path. Then if it's within his sight radius and it's not an ignored vehicle, then he checks that vehicle to see if there's anybody driving it basically. And if it's not him that's driving that vehicle somehow, or if it is him, no, if it's not him, then he sets it to nil, same as if it's above his sight radius. Then if there's no one inside that vehicle, he checks to see if he's beyond the get-in disc, which is in studs, how many, 20 studs in this case. He will walk towards that vehicle basically. And what am I doing now? Oh, right, so, yes. So if he's within that get-in disc, which is 20 studs, he teleports into the same space as the vehicle seat, and I'll offset it by 2 up. So he sits down in the vehicle seat, and he sets his flag, my vehicle, to the vehicle. And then I'll reset the ticker for the pathing system. Otherwise, if it's beyond his getting distance, he will compute a path to that vehicle. So the next bit is if he's inside a vehicle and he's not sick, and of course the vehicle is not ignored, then if somehow the vehicle is beyond his sight radius, it will probably never happen, but I've sort of added a bit of redundancy, where if it ever does get outside his sight radius, he will jump up and set his vehicle to nothing. Otherwise, he will check to see if his vehicle has been occupied, and if it's him and it's upright, and of course if that vehicle roam is set to false, he will attempt to drive to a random point basically. Otherwise, if I set that to true, roam override, vehicle roam override, he will just drive forward basically. If the vehicle is actually upside down, he sets the throttle to 0, sets his vehicle to nothing, and then he jumps basically. And what's this? This is the occupant of the vehicle seat, which is where are we? It's somewhere here. There we go. Occupant. When you actually sit down in the vehicle seat in Roblox, that will be the part that actually, or your root part of the humanoid, or your player will be set to that. No, the humanoid, sorry, I think. Yeah, humanoid. So it'd be set to that basically. He checks to see if his vehicle is him, and in this case if it's not, then he computes his path to his position. In other words, he doesn't do anything because someone else has nicked his vehicle. There should really be a jump there. Well, oh well, whatever, I missed that. Then if the vehicle is in his ignored list, he ignores it of course, and he sets my position to a random position for the wander, if you like. So he grabs his start position, which is set when the script runs, which is that self humanoid root part, which is where are we? This is George, upper torso, humanoid root part. which in this case is that. So that will be his starting point, or in your game that'd be different, of course. It's just the position where his humanoid root part is. So he respawns on that part, if you like. Where are we? I've still gone past it, have I? Nope, I haven't. Here we are. So then he computes a path to that random point, basically. And if he's sitting, or if the seat part of his humanoid is not nil for some unknown reason, like if he's sitting in a normal seat, he would jump. And of course set his vehicle to nil just in case. So let's just say if he's sitting in a normal seat that's grabbed him somehow, he would jump out of that seat. So the next big if statement, or medium if statement, is checking to see if his vehicle, if he's not inside a vehicle and there's no vehicle to be seen and he's not sick, then he'll just wander, basically. So he sets his my position to a random value each time he gets to that point, basically. So if he gets within 5 studs, he computes another position, if you like, and then he computes a path to that position. Then this next bit is working out what point of him is on that path from the pathing system service. So if the path points table, the length of the table, if you like, is less than 0, no, greater than 0. Why have I put that then? Oh, bear with me a few secs. Surely that should be that. Now what? Old code. So yeah, I think what I was trying to do there is to work out if the path points the table is actually less than or equal to 0, then he doesn't move. But I don't know why I've got that greater than 0. I'll have to debug him later. So anyway, he also checks to see if his vehicle flag is not nil. In other words, if he sees a vehicle. Oh, I'm such an idiot. In other words, what this if statement is looking to see if his current point in that path is greater than the path table. If that is the case, then this fires. I should have read that. Oh well. So if he's beyond the path table, or the points, the number from 1 to however long the path is, it sets it back to nothing, so that is correct. I must be getting tired. Oh well, whatever. So he sets his current point back to 0 and he computes a new path, basically. Or if he hasn't got a vehicle or can't see a vehicle, he sets his path to nothing. The path point is equals 0. Then if he sees the vehicle after all this and he checks to see if the vehicle is part of the workspace, in other words if it hasn't got deleted, or if it, in this case, if it has got deleted, oh excuse me, then he holds his position. Basically, if he's walking, he will stop, basically. And of course, he sets that vehicle to nothing because it's not part of the workspace anymore. The reason why I've done that is sometimes when the script is running, there's a chance of it of a vehicle getting removed before the script actually goes through the next loop. so it might be halfway through the current loop. So it's good practice to work out to call not too many times, but enough time to work out if anything's changed halfway down your loop, if you like. Depends on how many times you want to update. In this case, I think it's every tick. His brain's running as much as the frame rate, which is in my case 30 frames per second. When anybody else's computer might be 60 or something. So that's basically what that's doing. It's just setting the vehicle to nothing if it's got deleted or something. Oh, time for another cup of tea, or another sip of tea. And this last bit, yes, I'm running at 30 frames per second. This last bit is working out if his path points table is greater than 0. This is what I thought was this bit here. This bit. So he works out to see if his path, if he's got a path to his point. It could be a vehicle, it could be a random point if you like. Then he works out the distance between himself and the current point in that path that he's at. And then he moves to that point. God, that tea was cold. I will stop talking and just drink my tea, I think. Oh well, whatever. Let's finish this and then I can drink this tea. Oh well, cold tea, iced tea. There we go. Just made my own iced tea by talking. Yay! Oh well, I suppose it is 9 degrees Celsius in my room. Oh well, whatever. Yeah, as I say, I would put the heating on, but I haven't got any heating in this room, so oh well, put another jumper on. I might do that a bit later. I'm actually not cold at the moment. Hardy me. Yeah. Anyway, so if he's within a certain distance of his path, or the point in his path, he sets the current point to +1, so he goes along the path, and then I update my tick rate to every tick. Shut up. So if you can hear that there. Hear that? Going off in the behind me. Lovely. So then I sort of update the tick rate every frame if you like, or every time the loop it goes through the loop. And then I'm running the weight every 1 frame divided by 30, which is my frame rate. And that's George, basically. It's taken me months to work out all of this. And I hope I haven't bored you through all of this. And I did say that in the last video of him that I will go through him in detail, and I hope I have done, and I haven't bored you guys too much. Let's see if I can actually get him to run now. George, are you going to run now? Since I just explained your brain. You're going to go over to there then? Yay. George, there's a vehicle seat over there with your name on it. No, it's not that way. Nope. George, go over there. I wonder. If I'm moving closer to that, he might see it. I have no idea why he's not going towards the vehicles. Okay. Or have I disabled it? If that is the case, then I'm going to kick myself. No, it's not disabled. Ah. Roblox, what have you done to George? He was working last. I haven't changed anything since the last video of him. So I don't know what's going on. Oh well, if all else fails, let's add his horse. Yeah, there's that guess I was talking about in the last video. yeah, so I've added those to my my free models, if you like, and I think I'm going to set them to actually free, so you can actually get a copy for yourselves. Right, where's this horse? Yeah, a few little things I've been working on. George, where's your horse? There we are. I'll tell you what, I'm going to remove, so look, let's see if that one actually works. Right, here we go. George, why don't you like vehicles anymore? Hey, what are you doing? Hey, look, there's a horse there, your favourite horse. George, you're showing me up now. I think he knows it, that he's showing me up. I'm going to do a little bit of debugging. I might even do it on screen if you like, so I can work out what's going on. Let's see if it is that wait, that while true do loop. Blimey. Right, let's enable that and see what comes back. So he sees the vehicle, or in this case the horse. So how's that horse actually made? Right, so that's how it's made. So vehicle.parent. Let's run. Capsule. So he's actually seeing the centrifuge. Right, so he is actually seeing it. Right, let's move that down. Beyond order sickness code. Put it there. This is basically how I debugged the thing. So he's not been sick, and his vehicle's he's not currently inside a vehicle. Oh. So let's work this out. Let's go down here. Paste that back in. So still no change. Let's go down to here. So no change, right. Go down here. Let's actually put that behind that. It's a town to see if it's so you're still seeing it after that. Strange. Unless he's just playing with me. Quite possibly. So why is he not seeing the or going towards the vehicle? What is going on? I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to pause it here, then I'm going to hopefully come back when I work out what the error is, or it might be just a simple feature that I forgot about. Quite possibly that I coded into his brain. I wonder if it's the weight, the scan frequency or something. Oh well, I'll be right back in a few secs. Well, for you it'll be a few secs, probably me a couple of hours or so. Right, be right back. And we're finally back, and I've found out what the problem is. It's this little bit here, when he's looking for the path. He's trying to get to the distance between two studs, as it was. He, at the moment, because I've changed his model, from the basic R6 or R5 to the R15, or was it R16 or something, there must be a height difference between his root part or torso in the old one and the ground, where he was actually trying to get to the point and he wasn't exactly getting there because he can't crouch or anything. I know, I should create a animation of him crouching. Now that might be a project for later. So all I did, I went through all of his code. God, that took me a while. Putting down what do you call it? Things to print out where he is in his brain to work out what he's thinking at the time. As you can see here. So here he's actually seeing. I was checking to see if he actually sees the vehicle. So I just put a comment in to see if he actually sees the vehicle, and then if it's in his ignored list, I set another printout to the console or the output to say that it's not a bad vehicle. Then I went through to see if the vehicle's occupied, which I don't know if that was even the thing. I printed out there, and also the other side of that if statement, the else, I put up another printout saying it's empty, basically, or in this case, woot, it's empty. Then I'm working out, or put another comment as I'm going through debugging, working out exactly how long his pathing is, and in this case it was 48 points, as it says down here. Then I thought it might have been his pathing system being messed around with, so I got as far as that and then thought, what's going on? Then I thought, I know, let's draw out his path. There we go. If I uncomment that, we actually see his path as he walks it. There we go. So that's his path. There we go. That's what I was trying to show in the video. And now he's George, you gonna push it then? Yeah, so there's still another bug there. I don't know why he's not enabled that or not. Why are you not pushing that round? Oh. It's not George, it's me. That flag where I have the vehicle roam override must be set to false somewhere. Where are we? Yeah. Tried that. This is actually slightly different than the other one. Oh well, whatever. Well, let's have a look what he does. So I worked out exactly what was going on with him. So now he should do what I say. There he goes. Right. Let's see if the emitter in this version of George actually gets corrected. So now I know where the bug is in the other one that I deleted. Blimey, this is going to be a long video. I might split it up into 2 or 4, depends if this goes on for another hour or 2. Yeah, the emitter's not working for some reason. So he would be sick back then. There he goes. He just jumps off the vehicle seat, and because he's ignored it just now, yeah. So he should at pathfind in a minute, and we should see another path going out back to his spawn point. So there's a lot of debugging yet to do, and I'm still going to continue his making this brain, I guess, the best in Roblox if I can, and you will see a lot more of him in the future. And hopefully if I get my new computer next week all up and running, he'll be amongst better and more complex things, if you like. George, you gonna move? George, you gonna move? You gonna move for the camera? Hey, are you gonna move? I think that might be another bug I've got to work out. Think it might be a distance thing again, like that bug just now. So if I actually move him away from that, or disable the centrifuge and put him behind one of these walls, you should see his horse and then go off riding off into the sunset, or in this case oblivion. So let's set these two disabled to true. That's one. We should see the path go up, round, and then to that horse. Disabled. Blimey, am I tired or am I tired? That's for staying up all night for you. That's what it does to you. Right, here we go. No path to saddle, computing path, okay. George, what are you up to? Oh, there he goes. Yeah, the pathing system is actually a bit finicky, if you like. There he goes. Bye bye, George. Yeah, so this has been a video on George, I guess, and the workings of his brain. Oh boy. And hopefully you will see a lot more. Well, I'm guaranteed that you will see a lot more of him, and hopefully I'll be able to fix these bugs in his code. And this has been a long video. I may split this up into two, so like 30 minutes or something. And anyway, this has been TGStudios in Roblox Studio on George, as I've just said, and I'll catch you guys later. TGStudios signing out.